they said, don't mess with, remember how happy they was to get an audience with Obama? Oh, they were so happy. And Obama told them, we don't have nothing. He gave a talk in Cairo, but that's all. I said, y'all are not smart, you're a little slow. They wouldn't listen to us because we're black. It don't make no difference. How did it come out? They trusted Obama, and then they had
But they listened to him.
Huh?
They ain't listen to you, but they listen to him.
They listen to him. But they always listen to them, right? They always listen to them. I'm not saying just because we're black and they don't understand. But look, this thing about Inna Ibrahim kana umatan qanitan lillahi wa lam yakun min al-mushrikeen. That Ibrahim was indeed a ummah by himself. And he was not from the mushriks. Okay, in America, we're just like here. We're fighting this thing we feel like alone. Is it new? Absolutely not. In Oakland, California, well, we done told us to everybody, and we'll repeat it again. The first and only during that period, black economic enterprise that functioned and worked was in Oakland. Yeah. The whole town knew about it, you know. The same thing Martin Luther King wanted to do in Chicago in 1968. In 68, 69, and 70, we did it in Oakland. We did it in Oakland. We called it East Oakland Enterprises. We didn't call it Black Economic Enterprise Zone. But at that, if you was a fighter, some of my friends was fighters, if you wanted to promote fights, we'd give you the money, go promote the fights and do what you want. If you needed certain things, this was the first time, look at here, I ain't seen no city in America during those times that all the young people were driving Cadillacs. Of course, that's what they wanted to drive. And at that time, that's what was happening. So, there was no other place in Islamic, African-American enterprise, black enterprise was developed in America. And remember, like one of our main spots is right here, and the Black Panther Party was right in the front of that. You could go out of our back window into their back window. You know, the Black Panther Party. Half of my group came from, if you saw any of the old pictures, you would see everybody, that's their dress, that's their attitude, that's their, okay. But we believed in the concept of kind of like that semi-gangster mentality. It wasn't semi, pretty close to that. That you buy your freedom, green freedom. You get money, you get organized, and you'll be free. You don't ask nobody for your freedom, nobody else do. You have to, okay. But nobody else was willing to pay. Now you gotta remember, I'm in my early 20s when we start this process. And when you're in your 20s, you're young and optimistic. And that's the reason we did it, East Oakland Enterprise. Now, after a few years, Oakland was exactly like DC. What is it? We own that property there, totally paid for. We own property up on 8th Street, 2 properties. We own this property all across the street. We own it, cash money. We don't owe anybody nothing. That's the way we was in Oakland. What happened? How could they isolate a group and cut it off in the city where you're from? It's not DC. I'm not from DC. I migrated here over 30 years ago. So it's one thing to cut us and our movement. Where did everybody go from here? Right? Who told them to leave? Was they happy? Was something go wrong? Did anybody do something to them? Did anybody steal their money? Did anybody misappropriate funds? Did anybody do, just I'm just saying, did anybody do anything to the house full of Negroes that was here? Absolutely not. They was told to pack up and leave. They was told to pack up and leave. And then, if they pack up and leave, you're left here with all of this property and nobody using it, right? 20-something, 30, 40, 50 years ago, that was a big deal, what they did. But now, it's not a big deal. All our Masjid around the country, so Sacramento, they just pulled everybody out. First, you can remember when we had conferences, places full, we had demonstrations all downtown, everybody's full, all of a sudden nothing. That's because they're trying us. They're trying us with prosperity, notoriety, and then there's a threat over that. Now we want you to cooperate with us. Well, we're going to take all of that. We told them you can kiss our behind, kiss our black behind. You know. Why? Because we're under Allah's protection. And everything that they do to you, Allah gonna change it for you into a benefit. Everything. Everything. And see, our mission is different. All the brothers that killed in California, whether it's George Jackson, Frida Drungo, the Soledad brothers, all of those are personal friends of mine. They're personal friends, every last one of them, okay? Actually, was in jail together. But when the kitty pens, when they, state raids, when they get you when you're just either preteen or when you're a teenager, you come and stay in the youth authority, and you go home, and you come back. Pretty soon you look up, you're a grown man, and we call it state raise. The state raised you. Your parents didn't raise you, because you didn't stay out long enough. You come home for a month, and you're back in jail, or youth authority. You come home, you're right back in the penitentiary. So that means that we were state raised. What we found out during those periods, though, is that some people could be broken by isolation and segregation. They had all kind of names for it. But other people, like myself, I thrived in isolation. I thrived in isolation. I thrived cut off from and the same thing happened when we got out and we went up just like a balloon, and so they started cutting us off. So how did they cut off everything? So all I did was I wrapped up everything, packed up everything, and went to Algeria. That's what a Panther Party was, and in the other parts of Africa, right? And so that was because it was something designed. But let's say Allah wanted to get around. They made movies about it. They made movies. The first two Superflies was exactly about that. Think of the first Superfly. Superfly was a big dope dealer selling cocaine, but he was from New York, not Oakland. And the system was giving him the dope, basically. And when he realized what was going on, he said, I gotta get out of this. So at the end, Superfly go through his changes. Think of the first Superfly, and he'd get away with $150,000. That's what he had. It's like somebody was counting. Now, the $50,000 then was like $1.5 million. Now, it ain't much, but it'll get you started overseas. So we didn't just run off, we planned to run off. You know what we found out? we found out that the brothers was not prepared for revolution. Number one, they were going down every day. The ones you hear about in the news, they famous. There's a few of them still alive, a couple of them. They was all going down to the Rue de Douche Mourad and buying hashish and getting high every day. And the other things, now in Algeria, even back in those days, the sisters wore niqab. Let's say 25% of them. The veil. And you know what the Negro's advice to me was? Man, you knock them girls on with that veil on, man. They gonna ooh and holler, and they gonna, I guess the brothers or Arabs wasn't looking out for the people, right? But the Negro was looking out for them. That's what got him put out. I don't want to use the word, but Pete O'Neill told me in '73, he said, it wasn't the Arabs got us, like Elder said, he said, pussy got us put out of Algeria. They brought Negroism from America to Algeria, a Muslim country, and the people are not practicing the super Islam like we think, but they on the road now. But in those days, they was practicing cultural Islam. And the Negroes went over there from H Street in D.C. and took H Street and East 14th behavior to Algeria. And that got them put out of Algeria. You know, it wasn't because of old Elders Cleveland them said it's the Arabs. I was there with them, and I told them, I had a meeting. And I told them, I said, number one, I said, this is the first time I'm here on the second floor. I said, but from the first floor, I look up here, and every time I look up, I see a white girl hanging out, you know, where it's a balcony, with a cocktail or something in her hand. And I'm a Negro, and I done brought y'all a bag full of a ton of money, you know, to help the revolution. And y'all got a white girl hanging out. Well, this is the first time I've been up here in the secure area. I said, the white girl hanging out the window. I see her from downstairs. She hang out the window all day long, every day. And then only one person would do physical fitness training. Say, Cool Dingy, he's still alive up there in New York. You know. Everybody else has passed away, Setaway, Michael Tabor, but there's a key that I want to mention. Setaway and I used to argue all the time. Because I told him that there's a group of young blacks in America that are like me. They're going to fund the movement and they're organized, And Setaway told me, which wound up to be the truth. He said, my uncle is a dope dealer. He said, them niggas ain't never gonna do that. Of course, he was right. He was actually right. But I was young and optimistic, and I was thinking that if people go through what I did, they're gonna respond like I responded, because we're all black. That ain't the way it happened. But anyway, so I know I done told y'all the story a long time, many times, but I had meant to do certain things and to hook the brothers up. And I told them, I said, we can hook up a type of cartel, whatever it means, and we could do that. And that's where we'll get money for the revolution. Then we can come back and take over America. You know, they kind of thought it was humorous, but half of the brothers, they didn't say nothing when we left. They said, man, that's a good idea. They thought it was a great idea. Because they wanted money now. They were over there, and black people didn't sell them a dime from over here. They were over there going broke, right? And when they take them off the news, that's it. And so the saddest people that that I lived with during that period was the African Americans in exile in Algeria, that within a few months they have been forgotten. And nobody's paying attention to them anymore, right? So part of our struggle was we would, well, I'm gonna skip because if I keep going through detail, we won't ever get anywhere. Long story short, I went down to Black Africa and loved it down there. Just like in Superfly TNT, we call it Superfly Goes to Africa. Remember what pulled him back and saved him? What a beautiful vision he had, people going to Africa. Man, when we go back to Africa, at that time, we would kiss the ground. We were so happy to be back home. You know what I mean? And so even if you watch that movie, we call it Superfly Goes to Africa. It was actually Superfly TNT. And in that movie, it was a big Eid celebration. Now, I didn't see that on the street. I saw that when I was in the federal penitentiary at McNeil Island. And I'm from California. All the Negroes from Oakland, all the Negroes from LA, when they showed Superfly TNT, right? The Superfly come back, and the minister said, meet me, I live across the street from the Masjid, right, from the mosque. And you can hear the Adhan being called, and Superfly and being whooped by the white man, he can't hardly see, but he's following that sound. And he gets to the minister's house. You know, there was gun running and all that. He was helping the revolution. But that's exactly, if you were to look up certain people, or if you were called certain people, certain ministers in East Africa, that's the exact same relationship that we had. In fact, when I went back for a visit, Pete O'Neill told me, he said, yeah, man, so-and-so had a special job for you. It was the minister of urban planning. We all know. You could see him in Malcolm's, when they talk about a certain African leader at that time. Anyway, the point is, why are we still here? Because we have a long history of surviving. And if we were living a normal life, we would have had a very short life. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was protecting everything that we're doing. Imagine you down in Colombia, and you're the only black down there, black from America, and you're doing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of blow. And you're there by yourself, and all of them is Colombians. You either have to be crazy because you know how much a professional hit used to cost in those days? $20. 20 American dollars would get anybody hit that you wanted hit. And here I would be down there, African American, technically by myself. The only time I had a crew was when my crew would come down there for transportation and when I would be schooling somebody on the game. Which the longest they would be there for a month, stuff like that, be in school. And at first they would listen, but after that money get to running through their veins, one of my so-called best friend. And I knew how he felt, and I was trying to tell him when the stuff started rolling, you're gonna be able to feel your blood pumping. It's going to almost run you crazy. You're going to be getting so much money so fast. The first trip, he held on real good. The second trip was reasonable. But by the third time, everything I told him to do, he went and bought diamond rings from the store, not from off the house. 5 carats here, 5 carats there. He had 7 or 8 cars, Mercedes. He had doggone, what they call them, little Jetson cars, and they had all kind of Jaguars. They had a big bad Jag and all that. See, he could hold, and then when I called him and told him about it, I couldn't catch him, so I had my friends call him, and he sent me my sons, and I still brag about it. He said, tell Big Hank that I'm on the big end now. I'm on the big end. You know, in those days, if your connection needed something, like when you bought something, you maybe stay in their house, you wanted their protection, and they loved you. Whoever your connection was, whether he was Mexican, whether he was white, you liked him. And they liked you. You know, the people they said, it was different at that time. I mean, you liked your connection because you're going to be your connection is making it possible for you to be rich. Right? So you liked them. I mean, you know, everybody in those days, later on they started killing each other. People went crazy, killing each other, robbing their connection. You know, all they had to do was, anyway. So this has been a very unique experience. And I know I'm trying to fit a lot of things into this talk, but I'm trying to explain why the crackpot that called here the other day and told me I was rambling. I said, no. I said, I'm not rambling. I said, don't you remember? We told you about 2011. We told you about the situation in Libya. We told you about Hezbollah. And I told the name, Bashir, remember that, all those lectures? The Mubashir, the good news. They said this is the worst thing that ever happened, the invasion of Lebanon. Remember how people was talking in 2006?
Yeah.
I said, it ain't true. And they thought I was crazy. I said, that's good news. And guess what Hezbollah did? Whooped the Zionists behind. Combined the new weapons. First and second generation weapons to be able to defeat fourth and fifth generation weapons. That's like using old blockbuster cannons with howitzers, against howitzers, and guided missiles, right? They use that technology, and they was making move in and out of them caves and tunnels. And those white Zionists were sitting on them tanks crying. Did you see any of that? Crying real tears like